Well, I think we'll go ahead and get started since we're a couple minutes past the hour, but I just want to welcome everyone to today's beef calving farm chat hosted by North Central Iowa Ag in the Classroom. My name is Allison Swanson and I'm an instructor with the organization. And we have a very special farm chat for you today because it's being hosted by one of our very own, one of our instructors, Sara Preston. You might recognize her from coming into your classrooms for Ag Education Weeks, but she is also a farmer. Her and her husband own a cow calf operation and also grow corn and soybeans on their farm by Sway City in Kossuth County. And she's going to be taking us on a tour of her farm this afternoon. So if you have any questions at all during the farm chat, teachers, please feel free to type those in the chat box and I will feed them to Sara as we go throughout this afternoon session. And I also have questions that were sent in ahead of time. And I know that we're going to do our best to answer all of them. So once again, thanks for joining us. And now I'm going to pass it off to Sara. Sara, thanks again for hosting us today.
Yes. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I know that some of you, as I'm looking at some of the classrooms, that we do have some students that have been on our farm before. But like I like to share, with these calves, I don't think you can ever see too many calves in your life to be sick of them. So I'm really excited to share our cows and our calves with you guys and for you to hear a little bit more about what we do on our farm and how we're able to take care of our cows. So before we get started, I always like to make sure that we know the difference between, in agriculture, there are two different types of cows. We have our dairy cows that we get our milk from, and from our milk, we're able to make all of those really good, nutritious dairy products like ice cream and yogurt and cheese. And then we have beef cows. And with beef cows, they are the animals that we get our hamburger, roast, and steak from. And so on our farm, we have beef cows. And we currently have 200 mama cows, and about half of them right now are well, I guess we're just starting to calve. We have about 10 calves right now, but by the end of March, beginning of April, we will have about 100 calves. And then the other 100 mama cows will be calving when you guys go to school for the next year. So they won't be calving until August or September this upcoming year. But I will turn around and show you guys. I have a couple of calves that I have pulled out, and so I will show them to you. They were running around before we started, and one has decided to lay down, so we'll see if she'll stay here or not. Okay, maybe we got her tired out for a little bit. But like I said, right now we are just in the starting phase of calving season. So for a lot of Iowa farmers, we call this the spring, even though I know it's kind of still the winter months, but we start calving here in February and we'll go through March. We start with our heifers, meaning they are girls that have never had babies before. We do have a couple of cows, which are girls that have had babies in the past that have had calves, but for the most part, it's all of our heifers. And the reason that we do that is because they take a little bit more extra time. We have to make sure that they're able to take care of their calf to the best of their ability. And when they're the only ones that have calves, it gives us a little bit more time to really pay attention to those calves and those moms. And then here in the next week, we're really going to start calving. I think next week alone, we have 57 cows due. So that is their due date. And we will then have a bunch of different calves. But that's kind of how we slowly get into our calving season. When the calves are born, so this little girl that's in front of me, she is about 3 days old. And when they are born, ideally, we like to have calves around 70, maybe even 80 pounds is what we're really looking for. And so she is almost the ideal weight that we want in a calf. She's probably about 75 pounds. For the widespread of, we want them at 70 pounds. We have had calves as heavy as 140 pounds. And we've had them as light as about 40 pounds. And so that kind of gets to be a widespread, but she right in front of us is the perfect example of how big we want a calf when they're born. Now, the reason for that is because if a calf is too big, one, it's really hard for the mom to have the calf. And two, it also is because when you have all of that weight that this calf is trying to stand up, they're usually standing within the first hour of being born. That's a lot of weight that they have to try to figure out how to hold. And it takes them a while to get up and moving. And so that's why we really don't like them to be that big. I'm going to walk over. Oh, the other one's starting to lay down too. But behind me, I have the rest of the mama cows and the calves. I separated these two out because as these beef cows, we are around them every day. But when they have their calf, their number one priority is to take care of their calf and protect their calf. And so when I go on Zooms, I like to just be able to separate them so they don't get super protective over their calf and wonder what's going on. For the most part, our cows are pretty well behaved, but these are all new moms. A lot of them have never had a baby before. And so we don't exactly know how they are going to respond when we're trying to get up close and personal with their calves so you're able to see them. Like I said, all of these are first-time moms, and that means they are about 2 years old. So on our farm, we would like them to have their first calf when they are 2, and then they will have a calf every year until I'd say a lot of our cows on our farm are getting closer to that 9-10 years old range. We have a lot that we have been keeping over the last couple of years, so we have some new little or younger animals, but we do have some older cows as well. A cow is pregnant for about 9 months. And so from the time they first have their baby in their tummy to the time that they have their calf, and that's the process of having their baby, is a 9 month time frame. Other than that, I know one of the questions that we get is around having a bottle baby. We currently do not have any bottle babies, but we will here in the future. My husband and I, we have 3 kids, and my brother and sister-in-law, who are part of this farm, have 2 kids, and each of us have some kids that will bring bottle calves to the fair. And so if we don't have a bottle calf, we will end up going out and buying bottle calves. But the reason why we might have a bottle calf is if the mom is not able to produce enough milk. And so when a cow has a baby, they will start to produce milk in their udder. And I'm going to switch it around here to see if we can see. On the back side of a cow is the udder. So it's right back here. She's going to keep moving on me. Right back here is the udder of a cow. And when they have a baby, they will start to be able to produce milk. And the first milk that they produce is something called colostrum. And colostrum is very, very important to the calf. So important that if they do not get that milk, they could end up dying. And so we have to make sure that that calf gets colostrum. And then from there, the mom naturally will be able to have enough milk for that calf. Now, occasionally we will have moms that cannot produce enough milk, and that's when a bottle comes in handy. So this is how much we feed a bottle baby 2 to 3 times a day. Excuse me. It is about half a gallon. And so they will drink at least a gallon of milk a day, if not a gallon and a half. And this, we use something called milk replacer, which is basically like baby formula. And we mix it up and are able to then feed it to our calves so that they can continue to grow and be able to stay healthy. So that's a little bit of why we might have a bottle baby. Now, before we move on, or I might ask if there's other questions with the calves, I forgot one thing I wanted to show you, and that is on each of our calves. something that you will notice is they all have an ear tag. And so after the calf is about a day old, we will then do what we call process the calf. And what that is it will get 2 shots, just like human babies, that, we got shots as babies to be able to fight different diseases and sicknesses that we might be exposed to. And we do the same thing for our calves. They get 2 different shots. One is for respiratory type of things. I know right now there's a lot of respiratory things going around, and it's been in our house too. But cows can also get respiratory sicknesses. And so we have to give them something for that. And then we also give them something to really help with their stomach and to make sure that they're able to have their stomach function the way that it needs to. And then the last thing we will give them is something in their mouth. And it's just to give them a little bit of pep. It actually has a little bit of sugar and molasses to it so that it can kind of pep them up to want to get moving and to be able to nurse. And then they will get, like I said, this tag. So this is a heifer calf. And the reason she's a heifer calf is because she has a white ear tag. Now, the other calf I have out here, we'll see if he'll stay here or not, you will notice has a blue ear tag. And that's because he is a bull calf, so a boy. So we do 2 different colored tags based on if it is a girl or a boy. And then you will notice they have a number on their ear tag. And that number is the exact same number as their mom. So this guy right here is 3756, and his mom is right there, and her ear tag is 3756. And then the last thing is there is a letter on their ear tag, and that tells us the bull who their dad is. And so this one, the bull his name was Style. And so just by looking at the ear tag, we can look at if it's a boy or girl, who their mom is and who their dad is. And as we start getting 100 calves on the farm, it's really important to be able to tell who belongs to who, whether it's to make sure that they're growing enough and to make sure that the mom has enough milk, or just to be able to identify a sick calf as we get more and more calves on the farm. So with that, Allison, was there anything that I missed from any of the questions coming in regards to the calves?
Sure. Well, obviously it's a beautiful, warm day for February here in Iowa. But when you started calving, it wasn't the case. It was pretty cold. So are little baby calves able to withstand those cold temperatures?
Yeah. So right now we're so warm here that if you can see this bull calf laying down, you can see him moving. He is actually pretty warm and starting to almost pant because of the warmth of the sun and the warmer day, and he's black. And so that's going to take in more of that heat. But when we were calving I guess we started calving right before the cold streak. Thankfully, we did not have any calves those couple days when you guys didn't have school and had late starts. We did not have a single calf, which we were really happy about. But normally, when it's that cold, calves cannot survive if they're born outside. And so when we were in those really cold streaks, somebody was checking either outside, or one thing that we have around the farm is these things right here. These are cameras, and they come in very handy, especially at 3 o'clock in the morning. But we're able to then constantly check on our cows and our calves. But again, during that cold streak, somebody was checking every hour, 24/7, to make sure that no calf was left outside and to be able to get them in the barn. In here is where we have some calving pens, and it's a lot warmer for those calves. Now the cows, they actually like colder temperatures. Right now is almost a perfect temperature day for a cow. We have to be more concerned about our hot summer days than our super cold winter days, as the cows handle the coldness a lot better than they handle heat.
Okay. You'll probably get to this later on as we tour the rest of your farm, but one question that came in is what color is the most common for calves? We have black
Oh,
calves here and some
yep.
have the white faces too. So talk a little bit about breeds and the colors that the calves are.
Yeah, so on our farm, most of our cows, and we'll kind of get a quick tour of some of the other cows here. Most of them are black or black and white. And a lot of that has to do with the breed of cow. And the breed of cow is where they originate from and the characteristics that that cow has. And that includes their hair color. And so on our farm, we have a lot of cows that are Semitols or Angus, and both of those cows are either all black or black and white. I will go to a barn where I do have a couple of red and white cows, and those are either Herefords or Red Angus. And so a different breeds of cows that their characteristics are to have the red coat or the red hair with some white on them as well. Okay, I'm gonna climb out of this pen quickly. And I'm gonna bring you guys to quickly show you a little bit of the rest of the farm, as we do have some calves that were born at the beginning of the school year. So you can see to how quickly they grow and what the different stages are. So I'll go ahead and do that. And if you have another question, Allison.
Okay. Going back to the ear tags, one of the questions that came in is, do you just give them random numbers or is there a method to doling out the numbers on the ear tags?
Oh, yes, that is a good question. So all of our cows, we do have a system to why we number them the way we do. And a lot of it has to do with the number that their mom has and then the year that they were born. So by looking at their ear tag, our cows, I can tell you how old they are and who their mom is. Now, right now, all of our calves will have the same ear tag as their mom, so we can identify who their mom is. But as they get older, and if they're heifers, so girls, and if they stay on our farm, they will get their own individual tag number that eventually their calf will have as well once they have a calf. Now I'm going to show you guys as we're going to go by here. You're going to see a lot of these round bales throughout the farm. Those are corn stalk bales. So besides having beef cattle, we also grow corn and soybeans. And at harvest, we will then make bales out of all of our corn stalks. And so we're only able to do that once a year. And so we have about 2,000 different corn stalk bales around the farm, because what we use it for is bedding. So I'll quickly walk over here too. So this is where a group of our mama cows are. And as you can see, all of that yellow stuff that they're laying on is they're laying on a very thick pack of corn stalk bales. And right now, because the snow has melted, there's different places in the pen that are muddy. And so we have to make sure that we give them a dry, comfortable place. A lot of them just kind of lay out here all day. We have some that are moving around because it's so nice today. But now that they are all so pregnant, they don't move around too much. And so they kind of hang out here. And then behind them, I don't know if you guys can hear it, we're very flat, we're very windy. And so behind them is, it's for a windbreak. And so we're not always so worried about the cold. It's trying to get that wind off of them. And so that's why we have corn stalks on each side of the pen, as well as that windbreak behind it. So that's kind of what those corn stalks serve for. But up here, we are a little bit different than quite a few other cow-calf producers in the state. And the reason why is because we raise all of our animals in these hoop barns. So we have the pen that you saw, but then we also have 4 hoop barns that we raise cows in. And the reason being, again, you kind of had saw before, we're very flat, and we have in our area, all of our land is really good for growing corn and soybeans. And because of that, pasture ground is really hard to find. And if we had to turn our corn and soybean ground into pasture, it would be very, very expensive, and it wouldn't be able to cash flow to make it so that we could still be profitable raising beef cattle. And so we had to figure out another way to be able to raise cows and make it so that they're comfortable and they have the airflow that they need. And then we decided to build these hoop barns. And so in this hoop barn right here, these are all of the calves that were born this August, September. So as you can see, they're very friendly, curious animals, but these all were at the beginning of the school year. And now they weigh about 400 to 500 pounds. So that's how quickly they grow. You can see too, again, the colors very similar to the calves you saw, black or black and white. And then you can see those blue ear tags and those white ear tags. And so they will stay on our farm and we will keep feeding them. And about in the June timeframe, we will sell them and they will go to another farmer that will raise them until they are market weight, meaning the weight that they need to be able to be processed into hamburger, steak, and roast that you're able to buy in the grocery store. Some of these we will keep. If they have a white tag, we will keep some of the heifers and eventually they will be cows in our herd. But the majority of these calves will be sold to another farmer and then he will raise them until they're about a year and a half. And that's usually when they're about market weight. And market weight is when they are anywhere from 1,200 pounds to usually 1,400 pounds. So that's those guys. Let me know if I'm missing anything or any questions, Allison.
You're doing great.
Okay.
So a calf is considered a calf until when, Sarah?
Oh, yes, good question. Until they're about a year old. And then we refer to them as yearlings. I'll show you guys this barn too. This is just more cows as well as this big guy right here is a bull. We have 4 bulls on our farm. So there's one, there's another one. Again, same color. A lot of our cows are black. I like color, some animals that have a little bit different color to them. But that's just the breed characteristic. I have a couple more bulls that I was going to show you. Now these guys, the big bull on the end that you saw, he is about 3 years old. We have a bull here that'll be 2. And then there's a bull way in the back, kind of by my finger right there. And he will be 2 as well. And so they're younger bulls. We just got 3 new ones last year because our bulls were getting older. But one thing I like to point out is a lot of times in movies or in books, we'll see that bulls have horns and that nose ring. We do have one bull back here that has a nose ring, and he came to our farm like that. I call that bull Iceman, as we bought him out at Denver, Colorado. But he just came with the ring, and the purpose of the ring is so that bulls can be aggressive at times. And if you were to ever get stuck in between a bull and a corner, that you would be able to use that nose ring to be able to control that bull because it's such a sensitive spot. Now on our farm, we have 4 bulls. We make it a rule that you cannot go into the pen by yourself. Like I'm out here by myself, so I cannot go into this pen because the bulls are in this pen. We also have, between our 3 and my niece and nephew, we have 5 kids running around here. And so they have pretty strict rules about not being able to go into the pens unless they're with their parent. But for the most part, all of our cows are pretty well behaved and they have a pretty good demeanor, because if they get too mean, they can no longer stay on our farm just for safety reasons. But those are some of our cows as well.
One of the questions that came in, Sarah, is you were talking about the bulls and also the calves too. Do you ever have to wash the heifers or the bulls?
Yes. So these guys, for the majority of them, we do not. We have had some show animals And those we will wash. Our bottle calves, to get them ready for the fair, we wash, but the majority of these cows we do not wash. We just try to keep them with clean bedding. And so the hardest part with these hoop barns is we have to keep it clean for them to be able to have good living conditions. And so we are cleaning hoop barns probably about once a week. And so the biggest thing is just to keep them with clean bedding so they don't get too dirty.
Do you know approximately how many cornstalk bales you go through every year, Sarah?
So we make 2,000, and we will go through by the end of the year or by next fall. We sometimes come very, very close to almost running out. Some years, it kind of depends how much snow we get and how muddy it gets. Some years we might have like 100 left over, but we usually are pretty close to that 2,000 bale mark every single year. I'm going to take you quick.
Oh, yeah.
I'll take you guys to the other two hoop barns so you can see a few more animals, and I have a few more colored animals in these groups.
Okay, because that was a question that came up, is what different breeds do you have on the farm? And before you go ahead and talk about that, let's just run through again how many total cows you have on your farm and separate that into heifers, bulls, and that
Yes.
they're wondering about numbers here.
Yeah, so we have 200 mama cows, four bulls. We have about 15 heifers that are going to be either have had a calf or will be having a calf. And then we have a group down here, I'll show you, that there's about 25 of them there. And those are some heifers as well as some steers that we kept, as we like to be able to eat our own beef. And so we will keep some steers back when we do sell animals, just so we're able to process our own animals as well. Okay, I walked past them. Okay, so I was talking breeds. These girls right here are a breed called Hereford. And Herefords are known for their white faces and red bodies. We do have an all red cow that is hiding from me. Oh, her back is facing us. But she is a red Angus, as well as then we have a red Angus calf down here that was part of my daughter's show heifer, and she's way back there too. So the red ones don't really want to show themselves from the group, but we do have a few different colors. I'd say one of the colors that I really like is a smoky color, and that is when we have the dad's usually a black bull and the mom is more of a white cow, so you get those brown gray colored ones. We don't usually have too many of those, as we only have on another farm where we have a couple of cows, there's one more of that smoky colored one. And I'll also point out one thing I talked about with the bulls is the horns. This is a girl, and she came to our farm with these crazy looking horns. She is a breed called a horned Hereford. And so a lot of our animals, again, like I said, that you see these bulls with horns, and actually a lot of the genetics that we have now in beef cattle make it so that our cows are what we called polled, meaning they will never grow horns. It's bred out of them, so we don't have to deal with them. And the main reason is because horns can be dangerous to the other cows, and horns can be dangerous to people. Now, the one that you saw earlier, like I said, she came that way to our farm when we bought a group of cows, and her horns have never been a problem despite them looking crazy. She's a pretty calm animal, but otherwise, we really don't like to see horns on the farm just for safety reasons, as well as we have something called a cattle chute that we have to bring our animals through, and it's hard to get them through when they have those horns on their head.
Sarah, another question that we're getting is, do you ever name the cows?
Yes. Now, not all of them have names. I like to name our favorite ones, as well as my kids like to name some of their favorites. If you ask my husband, he would tell you all of these cows are my favorites. But like this girl right here with a red ear tag, her name is Penny. And she's in this group, as well as then my daughter's heifer back there, that red heifer way in the back, her name's Rosie. And so we have some here and there, some of our favorites that we're able to then pick names for, as well as I have some students that name some of our cows as well. So that's kind of how they get their names on our farm. There's no rhyme or reason. A lot of time it's just a name that we like.
Sure. Is that some of their food that we're seeing down there on the ground, Sarah?
Yes. So this is what the cows are going to eat. Now this group, they were fed this morning. They get fed the majority of their feed once in the morning, and then we push up all of this extra feed in the afternoon, and then they will eat it. Right now, all of the moms that are currently going to be having babies are actually the flip-flopped. So they get fed at night and then get pushed up in the morning. And the reason for that is we actually want them to fill up and to be really full for the day and then, or full for the night. And then our hope is that they will lay down and they won't get up to move around until morning, because if they start to move around, that's when their calf might decide it's time to be born. And we'd prefer, if we don't have calves at 3 o'clock in the morning, we'd like them at 10 o'clock in the morning. So that's the reason behind that. But with our feed, I'm going to flip it back around. A lot of it is grass based. You're going to see some corn in there. But the reason is these cows are something called ruminants, meaning they need grass to be able to live. Their stomach needs that grass. And so one misconception we a lot of times get is that cows have 4 stomachs, and that is actually not true. Cows have one true stomach, but have 4 compartments. But because of their stomach, they have to have this type of grass and this hay, which is dried grass, to be able to make their stomach work right.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about when the cows leave your farm to be processed. How big are they when they do that? And then are they sold by pound? Are they sold per cow? How does that go?
Yep.
How does that happen?
So a lot of I'm seeing if I can find all the heifers are wanting to come up here. We have a couple of steers back here. And so these guys right now are around, I'd say around 700-800 pounds. And we will then keep feeding them until they are about 1,200 to 1,400 pounds, which will be about this summer, end of June, beginning of July, they will be at market weight. And then we will take them to our local meat locker, and they will process them there. And from there, when they are about 1,200 pounds, on a really good animal, we can get about 9 to 800 pounds of beef. And so ideally, what we like to see is about 60% of their body weight is meat. We try to aim for a little bit higher than that in a lot of our animals. And so we get quite a bit of beef off of our animals. But if we do sell them, it is by pound. They are priced per pound. Even like our calves, when we sell them, they will sell per pound. And hopefully still in June, the beef market has been really, really good, and there's been record-breaking beef prices, and we're hoping that it'll stay that way so we're able to make a profit off of our animals when we sell them this summer.
Great. One question that we came in that is pertaining to the mama cows. Do they have to eat more food when they're expecting their calves?
Yeah, so these moms, and I should say all of these in this hoop barn and then this pen over here, these are all of the moms that had babies in the beginning of the school year. So the August, September, they will have babies again this coming August, September. So these guys are pretty close to the same amount because they're going to start growing their calf, that we want to make sure that they have enough food. And then for the moms that have their babies, they need to be able to produce a lot of milk. So we have to make sure that they have a lot of food. So right now, almost every single cow on our farm is getting about 60 pounds of feed every single day. So that is a lot of feed that we're feeding out every morning or every evening to make sure the cows get the nutrition that they need.
Here's a really interesting question. A student asked, if the calf dies, what happens to the mother cow after that?
Oh, that is a good question. So what we do is, if we have a calf that doesn't make it, and the hard part is when we deal with animals, when we deal with livestock, we're going to have some animals that don't make it. And no matter how much we try, we work with a veterinarian, no matter how much they try, we're just going to have some animals that don't make it. And it's hard. That's probably the worst part of being a farmer, is that you get very invested in these animals. And it's really hard when you do lose an animal. But if we do lose one, like during calving season, if we lose a calf, we might have another calf that, if their mom cannot produce enough milk, we will do something called, and we call it grafting. And it's where we will take that calf and then introduce it to that cow, that other cow that lost its calf, in hopes that that cow might take that calf for its own and be able to then grow that calf for us. Sometimes that works, sometimes it does not. And then so sometimes we will have a bottle calf, and then that mom just won't have a calf to raise for the year. And a lot of times we hope that we can get a calf on them, because it's good for the calf and it's good for the mom. So that's the ideal situation that we like to see.
But that cow could go on later then to have another calf throughout her
Yes.
lifetime.
Yes. Yep. Usually then all of the cows that you see that are having calves right now, they will have their next calf at the very beginning. Process will be in the June, July timeframe. So then that's when she would then be pregnant with her next calf.
Well, we still have a few questions. Most of them, I think Sara did a great job of answering throughout her presentation today. But some of the questions, as we're wrapping up, that did not get answered, I think Sara would be happy if I forwarded them on to her. She'd answer them, and then I can email the teachers so that they could make sure all of their students' questions got answered. There were a couple that were asking about their calves, Sara, from when you did Adopt a Cow program with
Yeah.
them. So we'll those will be some of the questions that we can ask you. But as we wrap up here, you mentioned maybe what the part about farming that is your least favorite, which was getting attached to the cows and then Mother Nature happens. What is your favorite part about farming, and why do you do what you do?
So my favorite part is I love cows. I am the sixth generation to be involved in agriculture and to raise animals and to raise cows. My husband is the fourth generation. And so it's something that is almost in our blood and what we like to do. But cows, like I tell a lot of students and my own kids, cows make me happy. When I have a hard day, I always enjoy just being around the cows. My favorite days are the days we get to work cows. And so I just really enjoy being around those animals, as well as I'm very proud that we get to raise beef and be able to have that high quality beef that you guys are able to buy in the grocery store. That's really important to our family, to be able to have that nutritious product for ourselves, as well as to provide it for so many other families.
Wonderful. Well, I think I can express our gratitude from everyone here by saying thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to give us a tour of your farm and to show us the calves and all the other cattle that you have on your farm. So once again, everyone, thank you so much for joining us for today's Farm Chat. we'll be able to put this up on our YouTube channel too. So if there were something that you missed or you want to watch it again, it should be available soon, hopefully next week. But again, thank you so much, Sarah. And again, thank you all for joining us. And maybe we can give her a wave or a shout of thank you as we
Yes.
end our farm chat.
Well, thank you guys. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day and maybe eat some beef tonight for supper.
Yeah.
So I'll see ya.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.